If you're dropping in, hello. I'm just going to wait a few more minutes before I get started. I just want to welcome anybody who's on right now to the Life is Now podcast. I think that we are live. We are live, guys. We are live. Wow. I grabbed me some tea. This is my beverage of choice, but if you have coffee or you're able to drink whatever you'd like midday to join me in this discussion, feel free to grab your beverage and we're just going to chill for a little bit. We're just going to talk for probably about 30 minutes, just kind of unwind, and then I'll get into why I wanted to start this podcast and some of the topics that we're going to discuss. If you're on, can you hear me? Can you comment in the chat and just let me know that you can hear me and that my sound and everything is good to go? And if you want to join the live discussion, all you have to do is go onto my Facebook page. It's just Zakia Lot, Zakia. Last name is Lot, Lott. I think we have Maya here. Hi, Maya. I'm going to share my page right there. So this is my personal, my professional business page. It's called Zakia Lot, and you'll see in parentheses it says Bloom. So you can always follow me here, like this Facebook page, and then you can join in on the conversation and discussions. If you are looking at this discussion from my Facebook page, you can comment if you have any questions, you want to talk about anything in particular, and it will pop up on the screen and I should be able to see it. Let me open up the chat. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So, for anyone who has never met me before, my name is Zakia Lott. I am living right now in Huntsville, Alabama. I feel like this is actually home. But I was born in New York, raised in a small town called Eastern Shore, Virginia. From there, I joined the military. I was in the Air Force for about 10 years. And I met my husband, who was in the Army at the time. And I knew that, I've always known that once I became a mother, I would make the personal choice to not serve in the military anymore, even though it was a hard decision, because I never wanted to have to deploy with small children or with children in general. You'll learn more about me and my personal story, but I grew up without my mother, my biological mother, personally in my life every day. And so, while I definitely understand why that could not be, and I have peace with that, I knew that once I became a mother, I wanted to make the choice for myself, which was an empowered choice, that I would have the opportunity to raise my children. And the military really didn't give me that option with deployments and things like that. And so I know I made the best choice for me and my situation. And thank God I had a husband that was very supportive. And so I carved out a career for myself based upon my priorities. And again, one of my priorities was being a physically present mother and emotionally present mother. But the journey of motherhood is not easy, which we all know. And so, yes, so we moved here to Huntsville probably about 10 years ago. And we were living at the time in Washington, D.C., and my husband was on active duty and he retired from the military. I was working a contract position out there. And we knew that once he retired, we'd had probably about a year before he would separate, and then we would, you know, figure out where we were going to live or stay there. Well, 3 months before he was scheduled to retire, I found out that my contract was going to be up with my job and I was going to be unemployed. And so, if anybody's ever lived in Washington, D.C., first of all, comment where you're dialing in from. I want to know where everyone's from just so I can get a different perspective. But if anyone's ever lived in Washington, D.C., cost of living is extremely high. And we had already been having conversations about how burned out we were, how tired. At the time, we had Lauren, and she was probably about 2 at that time. And so I would wake up at 4:45 every morning to catch the, I think, 5:45 train to get to work by a little bit around 7. So I could leave work as early as possible to take the hour and 15-minute train commute past my home to Arlington, excuse me, Virginia, where she was going to daycare near Sean, just so I could have the opportunity to pick her up from school, because it was so important to me, because I could not, from daycare, I should say, because I couldn't pick her up in the morning for daycare. And I didn't want to miss the opportunity to at least see her even in the evening when it was time to pick her up. And so we did that for a long time. And we were just both so burnt out. And so one day Sean mentioned, he was like, I'm retired. You just lost your job. Let's just do a cross country road trip. And at the time, I was like, that sounds ridiculous. That sounds crazy. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? We've never had this amount of time together. Let's just do it. And so, mostly stayed in hotels, but we traveled for 45 days across the country, having no idea where we are going to live, with 2 suitcases, a dog, and our then almost 3-year old child. And people on Facebook just kept commenting and asking us, to consider Huntsville. We stayed here in a hotel for about a few days and then absolutely fell in love. And then we had our son here after we found employment, and he is almost 7 now. So now we have a 11-year-old daughter and a almost 7-year-old son, and this is our home. And so I want to talk to you also about this podcast, Life is Now. So, if anyone else is familiar with me and my journey, I started a podcast called Bloom probably about, goodness, I think it was 5 years ago. And that was all centered around women's empowerment. And I had various different discussions about women and us prioritizing our peace, our joy, our financial autonomy, and things like that. And then I woke up one day and went to get my first mammogram, and walked in feeling like everything was going to be easy and simple, and then I had found out that I had breast cancer. And that was, threw my whole world upside down. I honestly took a pause. I paused everything. I paused my career. I paused the podcast. I paused every single thing. Thank God that I am in remission. And so, literally, I have changed so much of my life around that diagnosis, and it's really shaped my perspective in a different way. And I realized, so many people talk about some of the negative things that you experience when you get diagnosed with cancer. And trust me, listen, I was only 36 at the time. So to have a moment at 36 where your life is flashing before your eyes is absolutely no joke. And it's extremely scary. Um, but it really changed me from the core, and it was honestly a journey. So, one of the things that I personally realized is the importance of taking better care of myself. At 36, to get faced with a scary diagnosis, I realized that there was so much of my life that I had not even lived or seen or done. And as a people pleaser, as an empath, as a so many other different labels that I was dealing with that I had no idea that I was exhibiting, I realized that I had been spending so much of my life sacrificing the very essence of me for other people and their happiness. And there's nothing like getting faced with your own mortality that will help you really wake up and realize the importance of honoring yourself and taking care of yourself. And so the journey has not been easy. It hasn't been neat. It hasn't been pretty. It's honestly been very messy. It's been very hard. And it's been very beautiful also. And so the journey of self care has been, you know, it's been eye opening, honestly. And then one of the things that I honestly realized was, through all of this, I feel like I'm working on myself so much that I want to be this certain person. I want to look like this certain person. I want to lose 15 pounds and have more muscle. I want to, accomplish this big goal. I want to get this degree. And then I really thought about it and I'm like, I'm not living. Like, I'm not living in the now. I'm thinking about the person that I want to be 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, or even a year from now. And I need to stop and smell the roses because life is beautiful now. And so I don't know if there's anybody that can really um, see that or agree with that, that sometimes we just get so busy and wrapped up in the work that we want to do or the goal that we want to accomplish. And we don't realize that the moment that we're supposed to be enjoying and living is right now. And so for me personally, I don't know if there's any mothers or anyone else that's tuning in that can agree, but there were some really bad stories or narratives that I clung to and I adopted once I became a mom that were just horrible. And so I really want to talk about that today, just a little bit. And then I want to give you a little bit of information about what to expect in the future from these podcasts and these discussions, because it's only going to be good if it's interactive and if it's real and it's authentic. And so one of the things that someone mentioned to me when I was first became a mom is that they said that once you become a mom, you no longer matter. I have to sit and like listen to that right now. And this was somebody that I really admired and that I loved. And they said that to me. And I truly believe that they believed that themselves. And now, after being a mom for, over 11 years, I realize that that is the furthest thing from the truth. You matter more because you're a mom, not because more than someone else, but you have to really take care of yourself once you become a mom. So much more because I realize that, even for me having children, children don't listen to really what you say. They listen to what you do. And so I noticed that when I'm caring for myself, my daughter and my son care for themselves more. I noticed when I'm laughing more and I'm having more fun, my kids are laughing more. I noticed that when I have more boundaries and I tell my son that mommy can't play right now, mommy has to do homework, that they start to realize and honor their own peace and their own happiness. And so those are the type of conversations that I feel like we really have to shift and really start exploring more and figuring out what that actually looks like. I talked a little bit about, my diagnosis, my previous diagnosis, and my personal healing journey. One of the things that I realized was, in me taking care of myself, I'm happier, I'm stronger, and that benefits my children. My children don't have to come home to a house where it's chaotic. They don't have to come home to a house where mommy's unhappy or I'm fussing with daddy behind closed doors. And sometimes that, people just see what they see on Facebook or, on Instagram, and they think that everyone's life is perfect, but really it's not. Like, there are people who are really struggling, and the healing and the deep, meaningful conversations, it starts with the authenticity of what's actually happening in the house, in the home, and how can we show up for ourselves and for our children to be the best versions of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, actually made a recent career change because I have been wrestling. I worked for the DoD for probably about 20 years, and I've enjoyed some experiences with my career, and I've enjoyed the people, but definitely after facing my own mortality, I realized that there were a lot of things that I wasn't accomplishing in my own life, and I made the decision recently to go back to school to become a licensed professional counselor and start doing things that bring me joy. And I also thought about, well, what would life look like if I didn't do that? And the sadness behind that is that there are a lot of unfulfilled desires in us, in women as mothers, and they manifest itself as jealousy. You see someone else that is doing something that you want to do, and then you're jealous, or there's a lot of people that's even jealous of their own children, their own children's ambitions. And so I think that it behooves us, and it's our responsibility to have honest conversations about, as women and as mothers, about what are some of the things that we honestly want to accomplish and do with our own life, so we can, be the example in the world and be the example to our children of what happiness and joy actually looks like. I hope that makes sense to people. One of the other things that I thought about, somebody actually messaged me a question the other day, and let me look at it. I want to make sure I get it right. Okay, so they asked me, what would you say, what would I say to the version of me who was just becoming a mom for the first time? That one was such a deep question because I had to actually think about that one for a little bit. And I think my answer would be, I would say, be me. Just like be me. The version of myself who enjoyed to go, and enjoyed going out dancing, or the version of myself at that time who enjoyed traveling by myself, the version of myself at that time who enjoyed spending time with my girlfriends. Like that version still needs to exist in order to thrive and be happy. Because, I did the reverse. I did the reverse of ignoring my own personal desires and ambitions and sacrificing myself for the happiness of someone else, and it was very unfulfilling, and I lacked joy. And that's not the version of myself that shows up best for me or anyone else. And so I would definitely say, the advice that I would give myself or a new mom would definitely be to take care of yourself and to love yourself and to cherish yourself and to do things that excite you and to light you up. And that's the type of conversation that I want to continue to have on this podcast and really dive into and discuss. Next week, I am going. Oh, okay. Somebody said they can't comment in the main section. Well, you can comment here. I can definitely see your comments here. Feel free to let me know if you have. I definitely want to make this interactive. So if you have a comment or a question or something that you want to share, you can just drop it even in this private chat, Maya, and I'll definitely bring it to the forefront so we can all talk about it and dive in, because I definitely want to hear everyone else's experiences too, and learn more about you. And oh, okay. She says she switched browsers. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So next week, as we continue to move through the discussions, next week I'm going to have an amazing woman come on here, and her name is Jennifer. And Jennifer and I are going to have a discussion about self worth. And I'm really excited about this one because self worth has so many different layers to it. And she's got an amazing story about how she discovered herself, her own personal self worth. And we're going to talk about environments, the environment that you're in, and how it relates to self worth and things like that. And so definitely stay tuned. Go ahead and definitely like my professional Facebook page, Zakia Lot, and then you'll be able to join the next week's discussion. It'll be Jennifer and I again talking about self worth and the environment, and why that is so important to help cultivate the best version of yourself. Because again, I don't want to talk about it too much, but when we have, I think it's important for us, firstly, as mothers, to be around people who reinforce the highest version of ourselves, because it is so important for us to live the life that we're intended to live. And sometimes we are in environments that reinforces the old narrative of who we once were, or how we may currently feel on the inside. And so if you're going through this like personal rebirth of yourself, where you're trying to shed like old beliefs and old patterns, it's important to have people around you that inspire you and who push you and who encourage you and don't make it like disparaging comments towards you and your personal growth. I always tell people, if you want to be a millionaire, go talk to millionaires. Like a millionaire would more than likely not discourage you on your path. But if you talk to somebody who has more like limiting beliefs, then they'll definitely be the ones who try to pull you down and keep you and hold you captive to who you once were. And so, friends, relationships, and things like that, they all have a season. They're not all meant to live and to last a long time. And so it's important that we check in with ourselves to make sure that the relationships that we're keeping in our life are honoring who we are in this chapter and in the season that we're moving forward into. So I look forward to having this discussion with Jennifer next week. I think it's going to be a really good one. So, okay, I have a question for Maya. I agree. Advice as a new mom: definitely be true to yourself and lead. Oh, lead by example. Yes, yes. Maya, share with me. Do you have an example of how you led by example as a new mom? Did you ever have any experiences where you questioned your journey, or you had someone that made like a comment towards you that you felt like, didn't align with your well-being, or not? I'm just curious. And so, as we talk about more about this journey of life is now, I found, or I was given this, it's called an autobiography in 5 short chapters. And I think that a lot of times the people that I talk to that are around the age of 40 or 50, they, I don't know if this like, it's almost like the awakening period. Sometimes it's amazing how sometimes people can find themselves in environments or patterns that don't align with who they are. And around the 40 and 50-year-old age, we start to see how some of the people that we've clung to or connected with reinforces the old narrative of who we once were. And so, as we are healing and growing and developing ourselves, sometimes we can kick ourselves along the way of why didn't I catch this before? Or, you know, why didn't I realize this then? Because the journey of motherhood is evolving, obviously. And I think that we have a lot of women who are, this podcast, I should say, is for women of various different stages. If you're going through a divorce, or you have older children, you have new children, or whatever stage that you're in, I want to dive in to these deep, meaningful conversations and topics. And so this was given to me, and I wanted to share this with you, and I'm going to put it in the comments too. And it says, I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I'm helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Number two, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I still don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm here in the same place. It isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. Number three, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it there. I still fall in. It's a habit. It's my fault. I know where I am. I get out immediately. Number four, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. And number five, I walk down a different street. That was so beautiful to me because, oh, so hi. Oh, need this advice. Love your channel. Oh, I love that. Thank you for commenting. That was so beautiful to me because sometimes we get to a place where like, why am I making the same mistakes over and over again? I should know better. But sometimes we're just doing what we've always known to do, and that's okay until it becomes not okay for us. And so this was just a beautiful reminder that habits, whatever habits they may be, whatever they are, they sometimes take a long time to change. And so I want us to all extend grace to ourselves as we're building our lives or rebuilding our lives, to understand the importance of pausing, reflecting, and smiling along the way, because life is education. Life is a journey, and life is also meant to be lived. And so sometimes it's not about the finish line. Sometimes it's about the middle. Sometimes it's about the beginning. And sometimes it's about pausing and just making it beautiful. Sometimes it's about grounding yourself and just realizing that everything may not be perfect. But if you know life the way I know life, I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. I don't. But there are going to be so many beautiful things that we can stop and that we can pause and that we can appreciate along the way, that can help us stay grounded and enjoy and find more peace in every chapter that we experience in life. And I think that is the real purpose. That is the real joy. And that is the real peace. We may not, I've been through so many stages personally of my life. I've been unemployed, I've been employed, I've been sick, I've been healthy. Um, I've been depressed, I've been happy. Like we've all been through so many different journeys and experiences in life. But no matter what we go through, we have to find the silver lining and find good people to enjoy the ride with. And so I hope that this space can be a landing place for good people to join us along the journey. And Musa, everyone else that's here, I want to invite you to continue this journey with me, with us. Um, and to be a good influence, as Maya has just said, on everyone else and on yourselves and in your life, and to continue to connect with us along the journey. So, again, if you didn't hear, I'm going to have an amazing woman named Jennifer. She's going to be here next week to share her personal story about self worth and what that actually looks like and how that's helped shape her life as far as relationships and things like that. She has a very vulnerable, optimistic personality, and I just want to thank her in advance for being so authentic and true. And so. Again, thank you guys for joining us. And if you want to continue to follow along, again, I want to invite you to like my personal Facebook page. I'll have all of my events on here. I also want to invite you to go to my website, which is www.zakialot.com. This is how you spell my name, zakialot.com. And I have tons, I'm a writer also. I don't know if I shared that. So I have tons of wellness tips and things like that for people who are suffering with anxiety or depression or managing life or even relationships. And so I want to highly encourage you to not only follow my Facebook page, but also my website, so you can dive a little bit deeper into some of the tips that I have on there. And so we can talk about it. We can talk about it. So if there's any discussions that you want to bring to the forefront during the future sessions and discussions, feel free to let me know. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week as we dive into a topic with Jennifer about self worth. So hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.